Today we are going to be talking about finding missing angles. Last class we talked about finding missing sides, and today we're going to talk about the angles. When we are finding our missing angle, if we have our ratio, or if we have our fraction, then we will use the inverse of the ratio to find the missing angle. Just like addition is the opposite of subtraction, multiplication is the opposite of division, squaring something is the opposite of taking the square root. Taking the inverse is the opposite of taking the regular one, so we would take the inverse of sine, or the opposite of sine. We are going to start off by doing our problem the exact same way that we were last class. X is the angle I'm observing from. 15 is all the way on the other side of my triangle, so I know this is my opposite. And 24 is across from my right angle, so that means it's my hypotenuse. We have so, ka, and toa.
Miss Angela? In charge right now. Thank you.
We need to figure out, are we using sine, cosine, or tangent? Since I am using O and I am using H, that means we are using sine because it's SOA. So we have sine of our angle X. O comes first, which means we put our opposite on top of our fraction, and we put the 24 on the bottom with our hypotenuse. We do not want our sine with x. We want x by itself, which is why we are going to take the inverse of sine. What we are going to essentially do is add that little baby -1 there, and we're going to take our fraction and our x, and we're going to flip them. I now would have sine -1 of my fraction 15 over 24. And from this point, we type into the calculator. So I have 15 divided by 24. I'm going to hit enter. And then I want to use the inverse, so we're going to have to hit the second key. That would be up at the top left corner of your calculator. If you're using the gray square TI 30s, it's a green button. And then I hit sine. And I get my answer, 38.6. Let's practice a few more. Again, we are observing from this angle because it's not the right angle. So we're observing from X. My 8 is right next door, so this is my adjacent. And my 11 is across from my right angle, making it my hypotenuse. I have A for adjacent and H for hypotenuse, which means I'm doing my cosine. Cosine of x equals A for adjacent on top, meaning 8, hypotenuse on the bottom, so my 11. And again, if we have an x with our cosine, what we're going to do is take these, flip them, and add that -1. So I now have cosine of -1, or cosine inverse of cosine -1 of 8 over 11 equals x, and from that point we plug it into our calculator. I do 8 divided by 11, right? 8 divided by 11. Enter. And then I will again have to take the second, in this time, cosine. And I get 43.34. The last one, go ahead and get our tangent out of the way. Same idea, different problems. We are observing from this x, which means 20 is my opposite, and 37 is my adjacent. So we're going to use our tangent. Now, there are some of you, and possibly in geometry class, that you were not, your teacher may or may not have told you that you needed to write that out. It is something that I need personally most of the time to help myself visualize what is changing. But if you are capable of jumping straight to your inverse, then you are more than welcome to do that. So on this one, I'm going to attempt to skip. So I would jump straight to tangent because I know I have my opposite and my adjacent. And I put my fraction inside of the parentheses this time. Opposite on top, so we put 20. Adjacent on bottom, 37. If you would have set this up the original way, we would have said tangent of our angle x equals 20 over 37. And then jumped to our tangent of our inverse tangent. So the first thing we need to do is 20 divided by 37. We clear our calculator. 20 divided by 37. Again, we're going to have to hit that second key. And this time we want tangent, and we get 28.4. Oops. And that's it for the notes today, guys.